Delanco Township Committee meeting of December 18th, 2023, beginning at 7 p.m. at the Delanco Township Municipal Building, 770 Coopertown Road, Delanco, New Jersey.
Mayor, we are recording.
Okay, good. Right, I'd like to call the December 18th, 2023 meeting, Township Committee meeting to order. Can I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Bartlett.
Here.
Mr. Allette.
Here.
Ms. Seuss. Here. Mr. Templeton is here. Ms. Fitzpatrick.
Here. Also present, Mr. Schwab, our Township Administrator, Mr. Raymond, our Township Solicitor, Mrs. Lohr, Municipal Clerk, Lieutenant Warren, filling in for the Police Chief, Ms. McFadden, the Administrative Assistant, and Scott Taylor, our Township Planner. Okay, please join me in the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sunshine Statement, please, Janice.
Please be advised that proper notice of this meeting has been given in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act in the following manner. Written notice has been mailed to the Burlington County Times and Courier Post and published in the January 4th, 2023 editions. Written notice has been posted on the official bulletin board of the Township of Delanco at least 48 hours prior to the meeting.
Thank you, Janice. First item is ordinance 2023-17, authorizing imposition and filing of deed restrictions of township-owned properties for purposes of open space preservation. This is the second reading by title only and public hearing, so the hearing is now open to the public for any questions or concerns you may have about ordinance 2023-17. Okay, hearing none, I'll close this portion of the meeting to the public and ask for a motion to accept ordinance 2023-17.
So moved.
Second.
Carolyn, Mike.
Mayor, before you do the roll call, can you just go read off the properties, please?
Oh, sure, yeah, these properties are for our Rossi list. These are properties that aren't currently on our Rossi list: 200 Ash Street, 501 Burlington Avenue, 507 Burlington Avenue, 414 Rancocas Avenue, 1 Hawk Island, 15 Hawk Island, and 109 Delaware Avenue. These are properties that the township owns that are going to be added to our Rossi list for open space preservation.
And that was 200 Ash also?
I said that first.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
A roll call, please.
Mr. Bartlett.
Yes.
Mr. Allette.
Yes.
Ms. Seuss. Yes. Mr. Templeton.
Yes.
Ms. Fitzpatrick.
Yes. Ordinance 2023-18 is an ordinance to amend an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance of the Township of Delanco Providing for and Determining the Rate of Compensation of Officers and Employees." This is the second reading by title only and public hearing. So the hearing is now open to the public for any questions or concerns you have regarding 2023-18. There being none, I'll close this portion of the meeting to the public and ask for a motion.
So moved.
Second. Matt and Carolyn, roll call, please.
Mr. Bartlett.
Yes.
Mr. Allette.
Yes.
Ms. Seuss.
Yes.
Mr. Templeton.
Yes.
Ms. Fitzpatrick.
Yes. So the next item is proposed resolution for determination of rehabilitation designations and referral to the Delanco Planning Joint Land Use Board in accordance with NJSA 40A:12A-14. So, Resolution 2023-143, determining that the lands and premises at 401 Creek Road, 450 Creek Road, and 500 Creek Road constitute an area in need of rehabilitation. Is there a motion to accept that resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Matt Bartlett, Carolyn Seuss. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bartlett.
Yes.
Mr. Allette.
I'm going to vote yes, and just real quick, I just want to read something out of the resolution. for 2023-143. It's listed under number 4. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the committee hereby reserves all other authority and powers granted to it under the redevelopment law with regard to the rehabilitation provisions at NJSA 40A:12A-14 ET-SEQ. This authority shall specifically exclude the power of eminent domain in long-term exemption agreements. Tax exemptions, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Thank you. And then number 5, township professionals and staff are hereby authorized to render professional services to prepare a redevelopment plan in accordance to NJSA 40A:12A-15 and to take such further action as is necessary to effectuate the redevelopment of the property. And I vote yes.
Thank you, Vern.
Ms. Seuss?
Yes.
Mr. Templeton?
Yes.
And Mrs. Patrick?
Yes. The next resolution, 2023-144, determining that the lands and premises at 720 Coopertown Road, 730 Coopertown Road, and 740 Coopertown Road constitute an area in need of rehabilitation. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Bartlett?
Yes.
Mr. Olet?
Yes, and again, under now therefore be it resolved, number 4, the committee hereby reserves all other authority and powers granted to it under the redevelopment law with regard to the rehabilitation provision at NJSA 40A:12A-14, at SEQ.
It's seek.
Can you say that again?
It's seek.
Exceed. This authority shall specifically exclude the power of eminent domain and long-term exemption agreements. Number 5, the township's professionals and staff are hereby authorized to render professional services to prepare a redevelopment plan in accordance with NJSA 40A:12A-15 and to take such further action as is necessary to effectuate the redevelopment of the property. I vote yes.
Thank you, Fern.
Ms. Seuss?
Yes.
Mr. Templeton?
Yes.
And Mrs. Patrick?
Yes.
And for the record, on these resolutions, it was noted to add the date that the planning board held their considerations. So that will be added and notated in the resolution, both resolutions.
Okay. Before I open the meeting to the public, Matt has to leave for another meeting, so I want to give him the opportunity to give his report.
All right, thank you, Kate. I'll give a brief report since I have to leave for the firehouse in 5 minutes. It's the final meeting of the year. It's also our election of the officers of the year. Normally it's held the 4th Monday, but even the 4th Monday is Christmas. Nobody wants to show up for a meeting for some reason, so it is tonight, and I'll be there at 7:30. For the last month, I attended the fire company and fire commission meetings, normal business. I've, of course, attended all of our various holiday events throughout town over the last few weeks, and it's been great to see all of our residents enjoying everything the town has to offer, including bringing Santa and the Grinch around town this past weekend. And most importantly, I attended the Board of Ed work session meeting last Wednesday. There are a number of items that are going to be on this Wednesday's agenda for consideration, including items that will cost a significant amount of money, which it was indicated that they may need to apply for a loan from the state to cover. These items mostly include filling staff positions with positions that should have been filled over the last number of years, but were never posted or considered by the previous district administration and were required by students' IEPs or other basic skills needs, and the district is basically deficient in providing. So as far as I'm concerned, the district needs to do whatever it needs to do to get back on track, and it sounds like most, if not all of the board members feel the same, but I would suggest anyone interested, please attend the Board of Ed meeting this Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Pearson School, and give your feedback. With that, I wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a safe holiday season and New Year's, and I'll see you all January 3rd for reorg.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Good luck at your next meeting.
Thank you. 4
Um,
minutes to spare.
Now I'll open the meeting to the public for comments and questions. This is session 1. Okay. I'll close this portion of the meeting to the public. Since there are no questions or concerns coming forward.
Should we check on Ray?
Yeah,
Where's Ray?
he must be away.
I'm good with the 2024 schedule. It's on your Twitter and Kate.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
good with any date. Just don't change anything to August 10th. I'll be in the Caribbean.
Okay, good. All right.
You can change it. I'm not going to be here. So.
Okay. Okay, we'll start with reports. Steve, do you have a report for us?
Other than what was reported in the executive session, I don't have anything for the mayor.
Okay, great, thank you. Richard?
The only things I have, I want to let you know that I'm finalizing the specifications for the Field of Dreams maintenance contract. I sent it on to Rec, and I'll be checking with them, see what they have in terms of input. Steve Lennon gave me some input. So I'll be giving the information to Janice to advertise December 20th, and we'll have the pre-bid meeting in January 4th. Bids will be due January 17th, and I'll be bringing it to you for award on February 5th, assuming the numbers and everything come in okay. So that's what that plan is. And also, I didn't get a chance to email you, there's one minor budget transfer in your consent agenda for someone who was able to get the medical insurance. They're covered elsewhere, and so we had to move money from the medical insurance line to the waiver line because they get paid as a waiver. Saved us a ton, but we had to make that transfer. So that's all I have, and I hope everybody has a nice vacation. We'll see you guys in January.
Okay, thank you, Richard. Lieutenant?
As of today, for our department, total police cases, we have 9. For motor vehicle violations, today, 30. We have a total of 591 calls for service as of today. We completed our biannual firearms qualifications this past week. We also have good news from our one recruit currently in the academy right now, is doing well, Chris Ward. We actually met and interviewed 2 candidates this Thursday at the swap, and Chief Tilger and myself. Unfortunately, out of the 2, we had 2 spots reserved for Gloucester County in February. We had a PT assessment test on Saturday, only 1 person passed, so we're going to be sending 1. Unfortunately, he had failed previously as well in September, which is why he didn't go to the other previous class. Kate, with regards to the complaints you're getting for local ordinance violations in regards to the tractor trailer parking, I want to speaking with the admin staff from Boise this afternoon. One of the issues that was brought up by President Larry Boyd was the parking as well as the idling. With the information that was sent to us by our attorney, there are 3 specific idling exceptions. One of which I think this is kind of our main one, is that if that vehicle is equipped with sleeper berth, they're allowed to idle, as well as if the temperature is 25 and below. On the call for service that went out last week, the officer advised the operator to turn off the vehicle, which he did. Mr. Boyd still had an issue though, that when he woke up in the morning, the vehicle was still parked. But it's private property, so we can't tell them who can park and who can't.
Right.
And speaking with the representatives today, there are no parking signs, but a lot of times they said there's issues with dispatch and a different amount of truckers who are coming through there from across the country, where they're told that they can, based on how far they've been driving, and at one point they have to stop, they can't drive anymore.
After 12 hours, right?
Yeah. So, but again, if they're parked in that lot, We have nothing on the books to say they can't park for this private property. They try to work with the township again, but again, if they're parked and they're not idling, or if they are, and they fall under these guidelines through the DEP, there's not much we can do. But one of the other issues too with Mr. Boyd, he doesn't call very rarely when it's
I know,
happening.
I did tell him that he really does need to call.
He'll email like 2 weeks later after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, did you talk to him at all?
No, because he doesn't return my calls.
Okay.
He'll send me, I'll get an email from him probably a week.
Yeah, all right, I'll
But,
talk to him.
yeah, he doesn't
Okay.
return my calls. But again, and even in speaking with Boise today, they've reached out to him in the past and tried to have some type of dialogue, and he didn't respond.
Okay. All right, I'll give him a call.
Yeah. What else do we have here? We had a, end of the year department meeting, basically with our officers, and well, just trying to see if what we can do better as a department and as admin staff. We completed all of our clear training for the year. And then something new, we're going to be having our first annual Lawrence Stearns Officer of the Year Award.
Oh, that's nice.
Waiting now for input for some of the other sergeants, but we'd like to have that officer selected, within the next week or so. It'll be the first time, and want to do something
So,
different.
would you present that at our reorganization meeting so more people could see it?
That's the plan.
Yeah, good,
absolutely.
okay, that's a great idea.
Absolutely.
That's nice.
Other than that, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
Going back to Mr. Boyd, when I was out walking the town, one of his comments was the tractor trailers that come down Coopertown Road, once they hit past the municipal building, I guess they're using gear shifting or...
That's what he said, but again, there's not much we can do when he's telling me this in an email 3 weeks after it happened. And, obviously the officers, they monitor Coopertown Road always, and if they're not observing it, there's not much you can do at that time.
Is there signage we could put up?
You're talking about engine braking?
Correct.
I think there is, I thought there was that one sign. I remember up there, Perkins. But yeah, we can ask, but again, we can ask the county if they can put them up.
Why would they do engine braking? It's a flat surface. That doesn't make any
I-
sense.
No one else, he's the only person that we've had complaints for historically. Even when the homes were out here at the 900 block of Coopertown, where there was way more traffic actually stopping and starting, coming out of 1000 Coopertown Road. We have NVR, obviously the old Price Building and Misfits. Never complained about it, but he does, and saying it's way down there, but again, I'm not saying he's lying, but again, it doesn't do us much good when he's sending me an email 3 weeks after it's happened. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's only gonna get worse when those warehouses are populated, but, I mean,
Yeah.
it's an industrial zone, there's only so much we can do.
We actually pulled the site plan approvals for Boise to see if there were any restrictions on, the operation that would prohibit trucks coming in after hours. And there was absolutely no language in the approvals that would restrict the trucks coming in onto the property. And as Lieutenant mentioned, there are laws that regulate idling with some exceptions, so,
To give you an idea too.
even on private property.
As far as the span of complaints, his first one for the year was in June. His second one was in September. Third one was the first week in December. So they're few and far in between. Again, not saying it's not happening, but again, we stopped the vehicles from parking because they were parking out some wall in Cooper. Right.
Right.
The sign is there now, so they stopped doing that. But they will, again, enter and park in a lot. Again, there are no parking signs there, but we can't enforce no parking on the private property if they've been given permission. Because sometimes, from what I was told, it could be a dispatcher telling a driver coming from Nevada, hey, when you come in, park and you can make your drop off in the morning. But he doesn't know, it's his first time hearing that, really, that's kind of frowned upon here. So that's kind of the issue with that too. But he said he will work with trying to make sure that they do a better job of letting the drivers know, hey, if you come in, maybe go to another area and park there.
Okay, good, thank you.
Lieutenant, I saw someone had posted that their vehicle was stolen the other day off of Burlington Avenue. Have we had an uptick in vehicle thefts recently? I know there was an issue earlier in the year.
What day was this?
Saturday, Sunday, there's a diesel truck
I have to look into it.
right across from
Yeah.
the gas station.
Yeah, I'll check.
Okay, Janice.
Just remind everyone, reorganization, 2024 reorganization is Wednesday, January 3rd at 7 PM here at the municipal building. And so Lieutenant, you're going to have the first annual Officer of Lawrence Stearns Officer of the Year Award presented at reorganization. Do you want that added to the agenda?
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Is that okay with the committee to add that as actually on and presented on the agenda?
Yes,
Please.
Okay,
Yeah,
will
so
do.
we don't overlook it, yeah.
All right.
Okay, good.
That's all I have, thank you.
Oh, okay. All right, Township Committee, Mike?
Not much. The last meeting, Mr. Schwab, Mrs. Lohr, we got the letter from DEP regarding having to adopt a new flood ordinance. I've had a couple of conversations and email exchanges with the people up at the DEP office, and it's going to be an interesting process. But I haven't been pecking away at that, and we need to set up a meeting sometime, probably late in January, probably face-to-face with DEP to iron out some things, but I'm trying to get a good shell together that I can sit down with Mr. Schwab, Mike Luneman, our construction official, and sort out some framework to go on. But right now I'm just trying to get the technical stuff together and the formatting. The DEP official sent me a couple approved ordinances from other communities in the state because they're not, most are not accessible online because people have not updated their electronic code books. So I was able to get a couple copies of those. And it's interesting, there's a set of maps from 1978 that DEP wants us to reference in the new ordinance, but they're non-searchable online. And the DEP website, you can't even, DEP website, when you search freeboard, which is a term for adding additional elevation to whatever the base flood elevation and so forth is, that's not searchable on the DEP website. So it's discovering some interesting things, that Burlington County being one of the last counties in the state that's gone through this process, that we're finding this now. Anyway, it'll be interesting. That's all I got.
Mike, I have a quick question for you about that. This is a state flood guidelines, right? How is that going to affect the federal guidelines for floods, the National Flood Insurance Program and their guidelines and their elevations?
What they found was the ordinance that we adopted in 2017 did not comply with those guidelines. So this is a do-over of that process that we did. And it incorporates, the State Flood Hazard Area Control Act, various fresh water, Clean Water Act and so forth. So it's got a bunch of stuff that's cross-referenced in there, and it's almost one of these regulations. It's a 25-page regulation or ordinance that'll be on our books, but you almost have to know what question to ask to look for the answer. It's not very forthcoming in telling you this is where you need to look. This is what calculations you need to make, and.
So does it comply with FEMA though? Is it
Yes.
part of FEMA?
Yes.
Okay.
So the baseline elevation will still be based on the FEMA guidelines for elevation?
True, but they want us to, as a process to go through, to make a determination if the property's in a flood zone, is you also have to reference the New Jersey maps that were done in 1978 that are literally pencil drawings. And they want you to reference those. There are certain freeboard elevations or additives that you have to add to that, and then you compare that against the FEMA 100-year and so forth. Depending on what kind of building you're building, what kind of commercial, residential, so forth, various additives are made there. And there's another about a 25-page worksheet that you go through to reference that. And so that was some of my questions going back and forth with the one tech person up at DEP was, well, you've got this 1 foot additive here. where's your regulatory reference for this? It's, it's just kind of hanging out there. Is that a federal thing? Is that a UCC thing? And so it actually turns out there were there's a whole raft, like 60 permit by rule provisions. And literally a small handful of those have different incremental additives. But there's no reference
Yeah, so how
in
are
the
you
base
gonna,
regulation to go look there.
yeah, so how are you gonna get all this information if it's not even attainable?
Good question.
Scott, can you help?
So,
And they call it, the maps are the 1978 maps are the delineation of floodway and flood hazard areas. Nowhere in the DEP website is it referenced by that name. They call it, the website address, which is published nowhere, it's called Floodplain Locator. That doesn't tell me anything.
No.
My next question is I'd like to put that web address, but web addresses are perishable. They're not durable, they change. And, maybe I'm a little bit of a nerd on this stuff, but I'd like to end up with something that's usable, that
Right.
a homeowner or business owner could look at this and not have to depend on Harry Fox or Scott Taylor to go through all the gyrations and the slide rule and all this crap to figure it out, or just know where the starting point, and know what questions to ask. And it all bears on flood insurance.
I did attend a few of the webinars on it that the DEP has done over the past year and read some documentation on it. It seems like a lot of the changes were for new construction,
Yes.
like that the regulations were definitely more on that end than it was for the pre-existing homes, but they are still raising it. So as a real estate agent, of course, I need to be able to school my clients on, is this going to be in a flood zone? What maps do we look at? Is it updated? Is it from 1978? So it's very confusing, and as a riverfront community and the Creek community, raising it by foot will put our entire town in a flood zone. So it's definitely concerning, and I'm glad you have the knowledge behind it to try to decipher it.
The inland flood protection rules went into effect July 17th, and that bumps up the 100-year FEMA elevation by 3 feet in some cases. And I took the course years ago, and I was talking to Mike a couple weeks ago about this. He's kind of new at this floodplain manager thing. It's a zoo. I mean, it's tough. And being a small town, Mike's only here, 2.5 days a week. It's a complicated process. And I just took the course just to try to get a little background, because I've kind of been involved in some of these things over the years and been doing enough of these courses post-Sandy to hear about it. So you kind of learn a little bit each along the way and how it applies and so forth. But it's kind of embarrassing that the state had to do this whole process over again. And so they've been working their way through 400 and whatever it is, 60 municipalities to do this new flood ordinance. But anyway, we'll get there.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fern?
Well, I missed the meeting back right before Thanksgiving because I was out of town, so I wasn't able to give my report then. But in going through all the things that I participated in, probably the two biggest things were the League of Municipality and going down there and taking some of the seminars or sessions. Learned a lot, and I had listened to the recording, and Matt elaborated on some of those. I guess my biggest focus on the one day was cannabis, and I learned quite a bit in attending those two sessions. And I also attended a session on electric vehicles and how it impacts regulations and things that towns have to look at. So I'll skip all the other stuff. And the commissioners meeting last week, Peter Fritz was able to attend, and he thanked the commissioners for the grant that we had received for the history board. And by having that grant, we were able to get the historical markers, 5 of them placed in town here. We're waiting for the bench, which is going to go on the corner of Union and I believe it's Hickory Street, out front of I refer to it as the Presbyterian Church. I know it's not called that anymore, but as far as location, there are 4 signs there. He also gave them the pamphlets for the walking tour, so they can come into town and visit our town and take the tour. So he thanked them, and it was well received, and they appreciated his presence there and speaking to them. And on that note, everyone have a good holiday and be safe.
Thanks, Vern. Carolyn?
Thank you, Mayor. I attended the December 5th Joint Land Use Board meeting where there was no applications, but they did take a look at the resolutions for the rehabilitation zones, and they moved forward with that. They also thanked Dan Martin for his many years of service, as he will not be seeking re-election, and I would like to thank him as well. He was a huge asset to the board over many, many years. I think it was over 15 years. I attended the tree lighting ceremony and assisted with recreation decorating the park. It was a wonderful, well-attended event. Santa and Mrs. Claus were there as well for pictures. We had a Christmas village with tons of vendors, and I would estimate there was probably 300 to 400 residents there. And we look forward to doing that every year. It was a great event, and great job by Recreation and the subcommittee for that. I also attended the carriage rides, as always was a fabulous event. The Dyson meeting was at the end of November, where they held their elections for new officers. Saber Rice will be the president as of January 1st. Keith Jim Student will be the vice president, staying on as the same. They will need a treasurer, and the secretary is Danielle Jansen. I think that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. I also attended DICE's meeting, and I just wanted to state, Carolyn gave the most of it, but they had a good season for soccer, and basketball has sign-ups. To date, at that meeting, they had 129 youth from Delanco. 202 signed up so far, and they're considering a youth volleyball team. Recreation, I can only say, a big shout out to the Recreation Commission for all they did for the town for the holidays. The tree lighting was fantastic, the gingerbread houses were distributed, the carriage rides were well attended. I attended their meeting, and their budget was discussed and approved. Their meeting schedule for 2024 was also approved, and they will be offering a trip to the flower show this year, which will be held March the 2nd through the 10th. So, provided there's enough interest, we'll be having that event this year. The History Board, as Fern said, Peter went to the commissioners. He gave me a rundown on it. He said he was very pleased with the way he was received, and that he also heard off the record that the 2024 grant will be approved, he said. So kudos to Peter for all he does. The lighting at Coopertown and Creek Roads, I think I had already talked about that. I don't know that PSE&G has made those changes. I met with Adam for that, but I'll have to check with him.
The orders are in. I signed the orders and sent them.
Oh, good. Okay, great. The Joint Land Use Board, Carolyn and I met with members of the Joint Land Use Board to review the traffic study request. We had approved this last year for our budget, and instead of just carrying over, since there's some question as to should we do it now, should we wait until the warehouses have more traffic flow, so I did ask them to come to our February 26th budget meeting so that they can present this and, let us know why they think it should be done now. Some of us think maybe we should wait. But anyway, so they're going to come to the February 26th budget meetings. Seniors had a wonderful holiday luncheon at Fratelli's. It was well attended. We have 46 people there, and their next meeting is January 9th. Sewer Authority met on December 12th via Zoom. So 989 Coopertown had reached out for a release, but there are items that needed to be done on their punch list, so that's not happening yet. Stylex, we have no new information on, and Dolan, we're actually taking off our report. The trunk line project, the pre-construction meetings were held, and Vortex TV'd the piping. The work on the grounds to begin after the first of the year. We're still waiting for heating system to be converted at the garage. Operators reports on file. Steve Walsh of the Barclay Group was appointed as the authority's risk management consultant. So the authority will be part of the JIF. Budget was discussed and approved, and it's actually less than last year and will not require an increase of service to the residents. And since this is my last meeting of the year as the mayor, I just want to wish everyone a wonderful holiday, and again, my heartfelt thanks for affording me the opportunity to serve as a member of this vital team, and also to be the mayor again. I really enjoy it, and I will continue to serve as long as I have your support and the grace of God, so thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, so now we can move on to the consent agenda items. Consent agenda items are considered to be routine and will be enacted with a single motion. Any item requiring discussion will be removed from the consent agenda. All consent agenda items will be reflected in full in the minutes. Does anyone have any questions on any items there?
Resolution 150?
You want,
Yeah.
you want that off consent?
Well, I guess you can ask the question. Why, what's going on with this? Mr. Heinholz had sent an email which to me added more confusion to the situation. As far as plants, some landscaping plants were put on private property, and now you're asking Township Committee to allow you to take a vote to decide if the HOA is going to maintain plants on private property.
So my understanding of it was there were some planning done by D.R. Horton that were all private property. The association wants to take responsibility for those plants, so the homeowners don't have the responsibility for maintenance of those plantings. In order to amend their bylaws, though, they need a vote for approval from the Township Committee to allow them to consider that amendment. So all you're doing is giving your assent to allowing them to consider that. Ultimately what they decide to do is up to them. What they're asking for, though, is your permission to allow that process to play out.
They're asking our permission so that they can vote at their HOA meeting on whether or not their HOA is going to accept this.
Well, the legal not.
Declaration that's attached to the public offer statement requires that any change in responsibility has to be approved by the township. That's why we're seeking the township's approval to put it through the code.
Right.
And just if I can, just by way of some clarification, this does not absolve D.R. Horton of any of their responsibility to replace and maintain any of the plantings that were required by the board approvals. These are plantings primarily that were over and above those required by the approved plans and that were put in the rear yards of properties for marketing purposes, which is not uncommon.
Right.
So this does not in any way limit the town's ability to review their bonds and release through that process.
It just gives them the authority to take this vote.
It's a formality on.
It is, yeah.
So anytime you want to change your bylaws, we have to give you permission to do that. Is that the root of this?
The change of responsibility.
Okay. Why not just let the homeowners do what they want with the plants in their yard? I mean, that's what everybody else.
Because these are trees and bushes that D.R. Horton installed.
Yeah.
That D.R. Horton informed everybody who purchased the house that the HOA is going to maintain them. So homeowners did not know that they were their responsibility. They're just finding out that it's their responsibility. As we went through bonded and non-bonded items, working with the township and the board to get things, get trees replaced and so forth.
I know it's a planned development, but usually when you buy a property, the trees and bushes come with it and
They
it's
put a lot
yours.
of trees and bushes in after people moved in.
Okay.
So what they're asking is just a formality. I don't see a problem with it, but if you do, Mike, you have the right to vote no.
No, it seemed, well,
If
whatever.
you moved into the property, and you're in the property for 6 months, and now the developer, who took care of the development, who built development, is now coming in and planting trees and bushes in your rear yard, after being told these are HOA responsibility, you wouldn't stop. If you knew that it was your responsibility, you might stop them from doing it. And they did ask permission to go on and do it after you purchased your home.
I think I would have stopped the dump truck before they put the tree in my backyard with that caveat. Yeah.
They just did it. They just did it.
They just showed up one day and planted the bushes without homeowner's approval.
And they did it in conjunction with some of the common area ones. So there was no, nobody knew at that time, nobody knew.
Well, if a property owner wants to take, I mean, they can take out the bushes and trees now because it's theirs, right?
That is correct, we're putting it to a vote. The HOA board voted to put it to a vote for the homeowners to transfer responsibility. And then the board has discussed that because they didn't plant those trees, they didn't want them, they didn't have a say in it, we're going to give a grace period, that if they want to remove them, they can, and then after the grace period, they will need the HOA's approval in order to take them out or put additional ones in. Replant, just like with everything else.
Okay.
Thank you,
We
Cindy.
did like the declaration.
Ray?
Cindy, or maybe I should be asking our attorney, so is there easement issues that they're going to have to deal with to have these trees on, or these plantings on private property?
I don't think it's an easement issue. I mean, I guess there would maybe an easement for maintenance, but I don't think it's really an easement issue. It's just the association's gonna maintain those plantings.
The homeowners association will, after.
The homeowners association always thought that we were responsible for them, so we've been mulching them, we've been doing every maintaining them. Now we're finding out they're not the HOA's responsibility, they're actually the homeowner's responsibility. So it's a very precarious position that the developer puts in. And we're trying to make the best way to keep the bulk of the development happening. The way to do that is to go forward. We don't know if it's going to pass or not, but we have to go through the option.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you.
Okay, consent agenda items are considered to be routine and will be enacted with a single motion. Any item requiring discussion will be removed from the consent agenda. All consent agenda items will be reflected in full in the minutes. Resolution 2023-145, reviewing and approving the 2024 salary for the fire commissioners of Fire District Number 1 in Delanco Township. Resolution 2023-146, specifying the salaries of certain employees within Delanco Township. Resolution 2023-147, a resolution of the Township of Delanco authorizing the execution and delivery of a shared services agreement between the Township of Delanco and the County of Burlington, New Jersey, relating to shared services for certain work and repairs. Resolution 2023-148, resolution appointing animal control officer for 2024. Resolution 2023-149, approving 2023 budget appropriation transfers. Resolution 2023-150, a resolution granting consent for a vote by the members of the Crossings at Delanco Station Homeowners Association to amend a landscaping responsibility. Payment of bills. Current fund, $126,664.95. Payroll, $130,546.58. Capital fund, $21,844.38. Dog fund, $500. Unemployment fund, $34.82. Escrow trust fund, $10,904. Approval of business license 2023-49. Approval of minutes for October 2nd and October 16th, 2023. And approval of the department reports. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda items?
So moved.
Carolyn, second?
Second.
Vern? Roll call, please. Janice?
Mr. Olet?
Yes.
Ms. Seuss?
Yes.
Mr. Templeton?
Yes.
Ms. Fitzpatrick?
Yes. Correspondence, Janice?
Yes, it was asked that this email correspondence be placed on the record from Martha Colomeco regarding asking that the Recreation Commission find a better place to unload and unload the horses for the carriage rides. She sent pictures where there was some damage to the area between the curb and the sidewalk, and it has been reported that the Public Works employees and Recreation have addressed the matter, and but it was asked that this be put on the record as correspondence.
Okay, thank you.
And that's all I have for correspondence. Thank you.
And the area was corrected. Thank you, Janice.
You're welcome.
So the meeting is now open to the public, session 2. Joanne? Sure.
Donation line 316 Oakland Avenue. Two things. Any follow-up on the suggestion of these meetings being put on the internet, whether it's YouTube or a way for audio? I think this guy let you ask about that in September.
I think Matt, he was doing audio, but I guess he's not here tonight.
It was being posted on the township website, I believe.
They are.
They are.
They are posted on the website, on the township website after the meeting.
The audio is?
Yes.
The audio is, yes. But it's not a live stream.
Perfect. So if I wanted to listen next week, I could?
Right.
Okay, perfect. I'm so sorry for my ignorance.
No, that's okay.
Probably not next week because of the holiday.
No.
Right. Yeah.
My second thing is to thank each of you. Your time, your dedication, your selfless. Your mentors to other people that serve. With that being said, you're only as good as you work together, and sometimes I'm one that can't hide my face. Terrible, I need a bag. It gets contentious, and respect goes a long way. So I want to thank you so much for all that you do for Delanco. You're fantastic people. Thank you so much for your dedication.
Thank you
Thank
as well,
you, Joanne. Anyone else? Okay, I'll close this portion of the meeting to the public, and our discussion item is the Township Committee Annual Meeting Schedule. So, does anybody have any questions or changes to be made? Matt said everything was fine with him.
Yeah. You did, Richard added another workshop, March 26th, so that will be added as a workshop meeting. And these work sessions begin at 3:30 p.m. The only other thing was that there was some question about July's meeting schedule. And in that, a meeting for July 1st would be kind of difficult. It is the week of July 4th falls in there. A lot of people are already scheduled for vacation. Plus, we're going to have a new CFO starting. So we may not have a bill payment run available for that July 1st. And again, there's already a lot of people out on vacation. So the suggestion was to just have, as we have many Julys, just have the one meeting, and that would be for July 15th. But that is committee's call.
I'm fine with that.
That's fine.
You fine with that?
Yes.
Okay. And that would give a new CFO a chance to get, acclimated and maybe get a bill run done for July. Any other changes? Because this is, from what you decide tonight and approve tonight, will go to publication next week in the 2 newspapers.
Looks good to me.
Looks good to me.
Good, thanks.
Go for it.
So do we need a motion to approve this, Janice? or-
Technically, you should move to approve the 2024 annual meeting schedule.
So I make a motion that we approve the 2024 meetings schedule as distributed and discussed.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. And with that...
Mayor, I have a couple things I missed, if I could,
Okay, sure.
that would be helpful. I apologize, it got caught in my paperwork. As you know, every year, the Joint Insurance Fund issues dividends, and every year I come and they have a choice. We have our dividend is $15,814, and we usually ask for it as a credit against our next year's, as opposed to getting it in cash or, putting it aside for the future. I recommend we continue for consistency with doing the credit against next year, in which case I'll ask the mayor to sign that. If there's no objections, we can do that. The other thing is you got my email that the paving contractor who was going to do the municipal building lot, Field of Dreams in Iowa, won't start that work till spring. The other contractor who's doing the other work is doing it. Remember, 2 contractors. But I just want to remind everyone that that work is being postponed. And the last thing is that I accidentally looked at my phone and I got an email from Alex and Harry that Zone Striping, who is the striping subcontractor for the paving contractor, can't work till spring, is available next week to stripe Newton's Landing and River's Edge.
Oh, good.
So we are going to try to make that set up. We will notify everybody, police, public works, and so on. So we should get all that white striping redone next week, weather permitting, and so on. He's trying to get that scheduled, so we'll let everyone know. Just found that out, came in, while we were at the exec session, I got that email, so it's good news. We've been having trouble. We got the money budgeted. We've always had trouble getting a contractor with the bid laws, and we were able to do it this way. So hopefully that'll work. Keep fingers crossed.
Yes. Thank
Okay.
you. Thank
That's
you,
all I got.
Richard.
Thank you.
Anyone else have anything? No?
Go Eagles.
Okay. So there's no need for executives, since we've already held that, so I'll make a motion to dismiss
Adjourn.
the
Second.
meeting, to adjourn it. Ellen seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Who made the motion? I'm sorry. I didn't hear it.
did.
You did?
Carolyn
All
seconded.
right.
Yeah, I did.
All right.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Yes. Have a safe and happy holiday.
All right.
Thank you, Scott, for being here. And
Thank you.
Steve, thank you.
Merry Christmas.